Guys, welcome to tonight's stream. It has been a minute and a half, and I'm happy to be here. I have kind of been just kind of out handling life, more or less, so I know that this is kind of an impromptu thing for tonight's kind of drawing, but seeing as it is still Inktober, and seeing as I happen to have a pencil in this hand and a sheet of paper right here, I'm going to get to work on making a few new sketches for Kinix and the world of Animus, and in particular for this art book that I've kind of got coming up around the horizon. So a few quick life updates. I just started working. I actually landed a new job working as a senior user experience designer working for a startup. And so a lot of my attention lately has kind of been in that direction. Just in addition to, a couple of other just kind of life topics, soul-searching things, kind of, just developmental things of that nature. And so, anyway, I want to talk about why you guys are here today, and that is, in part, see me do some sketches here. So for those of you who are joining in, welcome, and in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of start working on this sketch. I'm gonna see if I can like minimize my view just a little bit because I want to show what I'm drawing without completely covering the view here. So what I'll do is go to this guy, minimize my window just like that much, pause that there, and boom. All right, back in business. So this here is a continuation of Inktober, and in particular, I'm working on basically kind of personifying the prompt, sun. That's the prompt for today's sketch. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking that, I'm kind of superimposing it into my own world building project and its creative universe. And what we're looking at here is a creature that's known as an elemental. This particular one is a fire elemental, and so I'm trying to come up with some idea, a visual concept, that really kind of embodies this creature design that I have in mind. And it's meant to kind of give you this, kind of reminiscent feeling of the prompt for Inktober, which is sun, but then at the same time, I'm going to borrow some elements, some real-life elements to really kind of create this creature design. And in particular, I'm thinking about some things like Jizo statues in ancient Japan. I'm also thinking about Dogu statues as well, too, in particular. We're going to see those kind of make their appearance in the facial features and, some of the other kind of, more stoic pose elements that we're going to see here. And so I'm going to get lost in my sketch. I'm going to continue kind of doing my sketches here and detailing kind of the overall figure for this guy. I haven't given him a name yet, but I think you guys will kind of start to see this take shape the more I start throwing details on here. So for anybody that jumps in, feel free to throw something in the chat. If you don't want to talk, there is no pressure either. You are totally welcome to sit down, hang out, relax, while I do my stuff over here, my artwork as well. And so far, I'm kind of okay with these contours that I'm making here. I want to give him this kind of, burly demeanor, with his hands and arms and things of that nature. But I also want to create this really kind of, deity-esque looking kind of figure as well too, with this form. And that's what we're going to get. Poetry and pain, blessing in the chain, pictures I could paint, yeah. It's poetry and pain, blessings in the chain, pictures I could paint. And so for this base here, I kind of got this idea where it's going to have like an almost like Imperial Star Destroyer type of look to it. So it's got no legs. It levitates for its form of locomotion. And that is why this form will make sense for this particular creature. And so something I want to talk about with elementals in my story, there's something, elementals, there's something that exists between spirit and creature. They're basically able to take on these physical manifestations, but their essence is something that's very metaphysical. So they never truly end up, being destroyed, so to speak. Their energy is always recycled. And so this particular elemental, again, the name is something I still need to come up with, but it's supposed to represent the essence of fire in my world. And so it's had several reincarnations, many in fact, throughout its existence. And this particular one is going to look like this. 1 second, guys, I'm gonna take a phone call. Hey, bro. Hey, I am on a stream right now. How's everything? Just on a stream, just doing a live stream right now. I hear you. Are you gonna be free later on? Perfect. Alright, then, well, in that case, I'll give you a call before I go to bed. Alright, cool. Alright, talk to you soon then. Alright, bye. Guys, my brother just had a baby, and so I could not afford to miss that call. Not today, like he didn't just have, sorry, let me backtrack. My brother's wife had a baby, and that was earlier this week. Okay. So the question now is, how do I want, I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit. Let's see if I can get that camera where I want it to. I kind of want to give this the right level of detail with the halo that's behind it. So I'm going to come back and put that on in a little bit. I think what I really want to do the most is just kind of map out what this form for the base is supposed to look like first. I'm going to turn this guy this way and try to get that edge in a good place. So we're coming around, carving. And now chiseling out the detail here. Just like that. Okay. So, for the next portions, specifically for figure out like what those are going to look like, I kind of feel as if I want these to complement the rest of the shape here, and I also want it to kind of speak towards this fiery sort of presence that I'm trying to create here. So where this tail fin is going to get placed. And I think what I want is for this to almost have like more of like a thruster type of look to it. And in a way to where it's part of the body, but also somewhere between kind of industrial, but also organic as well. And the question is, how do I reflect that in my design? I'm thinking something a bit more like this, to where we've got these angles that are coming out that definitely have more of a straight edge to them, which is something that you don't see in nature typically. I'm going to incorporate those into this like so. Go back. There we go. Had to reach over my drawing for a second. So yeah, you know, I think that that's a good shape. I'm happy with how that's looking. I'm gonna bring this back down and just complete the narrative with, you know, how these contours are kind of connecting to each other. I'm gonna do the same thing with this hand over here, because that still needs to be detailed. And for me to do that, I'm going to rotate this drawing, because I'm looking at this actually in a really kind of weird angle. I'm going to have to do it like this. It's the camera's fault, it's like rotated. But anyway, hands. An artist's favorite worst enemy. I'm going to start by working on the thumb first. A thumb is always a good kind of common starting point, so that you can identify where fingers go, what's on the inside, what's on the outside, when you're putting your hand kind of next to your torso. And so by starting with the thumb, I'm able to kind of give like a good reference point for where everything else should fall into place with this design. So as you can see, we're going to fill this guy in, kind of pull that down like so. And we've got this very basic start for that thumb. And from there, I can start to kind of put in the rest of these fingers here. So, digits first. It's 1, 2. I want this to be kind of droopy, so we've got like this, you know, third digit that's going to end right there. And so when I rotate this, you see, I guess like that, you can see the gravity, you know, kind of taking effect on the hand here and the fingers. And that's what we have happening with this guy and the rest of them as soon as I start to plug them in, basically. So turning it back around to this for my sake, coming back to put in the rest of those fingers. It's gonna have this very kind of lanky, you know, demeanor to it. So we've got finger 3, and all of this just kind of like by memory at a certain point. Like I know where these fingers should go because I've got a basic understanding of the, you know, anatomy of the hand. It's now just translating this into that. We've got the pinky right there. And pull this all the way up to where you can start to see the rest of the hand, or at least the suggestion of that hand, form in the background there. Alright, so we've got this hand. Now for the fun stuff, turn it back around this way. I'm gonna try to put this back in view, kind of like that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in some of these, you know, harder, bleh, what was that? Harder, I can't talk. Harder contours around these fingers. And, you know, at this point they become a lot more defined. You can kind of see the rest of this hand take shape because of that thickness that I'm introducing here. So we've got that, we've got some more. And all of this is going to be kind of coated in another kind of coating or layer, so to speak, of contour line work when I start to use my markers to go back over this, or my Faber-Castell pins. So all of that's going to be effectively inked in, as the name Inktober would suggest, right? So I can't skip out on that part. And that's what we're going to see eventually through this process. But not before I map out everything else. So I kind of like where that's going. I like where this hand is. I need to figure out what's going on with this halo back here and this one around the head. But I think for now what I'm going to do is turn this around, kind of zoom in just a little bit without completely jacking up my camera here. And I want to start to put in these details on the face. You can see these two little areas for the eyes here. And like I said, I want this to kind of have like a bit of a Jizo statue feel to it. So those eyes are going to look like that in a second. And I'll show you what that looks like, because I know that not everybody is familiar with what a Jizo statue actually is. And to be more accurate, it's really more of like a Dogu statue. So Jizo statues are kind of like similar to what you would see in a kind of depiction of a Buddha, so to speak. However, for a Dogu statue, it's going to look a little different. They're humanoid, but you're going to see some features that are less common. I mean, the only kind of pop culture parallels that I can make right now would be in popular anime, maybe. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a Digimon that looks kind of like this, with the eyes. I mean, there's also, like Bleach as well too. There's like a Zanpakuto that has this whole situation going on. So, I'm gonna go through, work on mapping that out right there for this eye. And so the idea is that it always looks like it's shut. So we're starting there. We've got this slit where it's kind of peering through, looking at you with that. And same for this side over here. Just like that. And now the next part is going to be around just, kind of what the detail of this looks like and why. Like, I don't want to leave it, just like this. I kind of want to add some markings on it. Just like that. And I think what I want is for that head to actually levitate. Like, it might not even have a neck, which I think is going to be kind of cool. It's going to kind of be a nice callback to that solar theme that I'm talking about for the prompt. So we've got this situation going on, this nice kind of defined chest. It might even have a big hole here too. I think that would be cool if it had its own kind of star, so to speak, within itself. That's what I'm gonna put there. I'm kind of creating this on the go, so I'm getting these kind of wonky ideas and just kind of dropping them in as they feel fit. And right between where this ribcage would be, like in a typical kind of, humanoid presenting form, there's going to be this hole right there. But also in between that hole, there's going to be this star. And I should probably talk about the size of this too. This thing is huge. Like, it's not, in the scale of, monsters in my universe, it's definitely smaller than others. But if we're talking about your average human size, turn it around this way, I think a comparison might be something. Let's see what I can show. You guys can kind of see, the size of the hand right there. I'm gonna draw a little person right here. I think we're doing our stick figure. kind of thing here. This would be the size of a person. Yeah, I think that that's pretty accurate. Yep, feels about right. So there you have it. But back to this sketch. I'm going to get back to putting on these details. So it's going to have this spherical head that you can see over here. We're going to drop this in like that. Curve it around. And just really get that definition on there for that shape. We've got basically this ball for the head. It doesn't look, you know, like so threatening, right? I think to kind of amp that up a little bit, I want there to be this kind of remnant of something that's like a divine entity, and so therefore incorporating these symbols of power, so to speak, or of this kind of metaphysical power with this kind of like halo ring behind it. That's something I'm going to throw in here as well too. Just adds more spice to that design. So we've got this coming in. Just working with the proportions and perspective right now. Curving that up. Curving isn't really the right word, but you know what I mean, like angling that up. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and connect that like so. Devonte, welcome to the chat, my man. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a minute. And now I'm going to start moving on to this next section over here. So just kind of completing that ring. I want all of these contours to be pretty equidistant from each other. And so we're going to have this kind of curve down. I'm going to start by working on like the rough outlines first. And from there, I can start putting in the thicker lines whenever I really want to. And, you know, I'm going to do that for last, basically. I'm going to get the basic shape out of the way, and then work on complexities. So same thing here, like just getting that circle coming on down. And yeah, I think that that's going to be a decent kind of spur area right there. So I'm going to mark that out again with that basic contour. Same thing for this one. Same thing for that one out there. Ooh, nice, man. Yeah, so Devonte, I would love to hear how many you've been able to do, because I've been totally out the loop with it. I've been so behind. As you can see, this is actually for Sun, which I think was day 9. I'm literally just gonna hop around at this point because I'm so late. My life has been a little chaotic in a few ways, but also very busy too. And so my Inktobering, unfortunately, have fallen by the wayside. So here I am, Inktobering right now, behind the times. But no, I'm actually still having a good time doing this. I never expected to complete all of Inktober to begin with. And I think, you know, for me, that's kind of like the fun of it. I never really have this goal of officially getting every single day done, but if I could get more done each time, or if I feel like I'm able to just like hash out a cool idea, then for me it's worth it. Alright, so got that contour, wrapping it around this way. And again, you know, I'm going to come back and kind of strengthen these over here where necessary. Because I think that can be a little bit more refined. More specifically, that angle right there. Curve that up. Like that. I think that that's a lot better. Same thing here, just hitting, the appropriate marks right there. And so for this part, for this kind of, like next halo behind it, first I'm going to finish up this one. I kind of want there to be something a little bit more intricate behind there. Something that's really going to speak to the character of this particular entity that I'm drawing. And I need to think about what that's going to be. Or if it makes sense to do it in the first place in that type of way. Okay, so yeah, we've got this. Now it's time for this. This is something, and by this I'm talking about the halo, this is something that's pretty emblematic for all of the elementals in my story. All of these creatures that have these kind of element affiliations to them. They have these big halo rings typically somewhere on their person. And that's kind of, meant to signify that this is something that is, again, a divine entity of some sort in my book. How do I want this? Let's see, I think what would be cool is if there was something inside of this that was kind of reminiscent to the solar system in a few ways, just like as a concept. And I think that something that really kind of speaks to that would be this notion of orbit. And if I can kind of put in something in here that rotates along with this ring rotating, I think I'll be in business. Chibiversity. Good day, sir. Welcome to the channel. What is up? Glad that you're on the stream. Okay, so yeah, I think this is going in the right direction. I don't want to overload this and go overkill with how many of these kind of like bearings, basically, I'm going to put inside of this. And so I think if I'm going to do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to stretch, guys, 1 second. Stretchy stretch, okay. If I'm going to do 5 of these kind of arrows coming off of this, I think having... I'm going to put these in the negative space between each of them. Well, maybe each other one. I don't want it to be too many. So I'm going to try this out. We're going to experiment and see how this goes. Put one there. And again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 5th one back here. 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this really has more of like a octagonal sort of layout to it, which means that if we're dividing that, there should be 4 on each side to keep it even, but it doesn't really need to be even. Let's skip. So we've got 1, skip, 2, let me see, skip, 3, over here, let me see, 1, 2, skip, 4, skip. Okay, that's the answer. I can't do math today because I have been... my mind is fried from work and waking up super early. So there are going to be 4 of these circles inside of this other one. And with that, we're going to have 1 more circle. That's going to keep all of these kind of in line, basically. They're all going through this kind of orbital, like gyroscopic rotation when this thing is kind of powered on and, just existing, basically. So try to get that shape down the way how I want to. Wrapping that around. Something rough. Details in. And I'm going to go through and just kind of like take care of this ring on the inside. Just like that. So very rough, very scrappy, and that's okay. It's kind of meant to not be, you know, like this perfect curve for everything. At least in my, you know, drawing style, it's a bit angular and edgy, I guess you can say. But the idea is that I'm conveying that there's a circle right here and right here, and you know, some more kind of within. And so we've got these kind of inner circles that rotate with everything else. And I know what I would want for these is to really kind of input the symbol of the fire core onto each of these from my book. And I'll do that later, because I don't know what that symbol is supposed to look like. That's a whole different graphic design job, and I'm not going to get into that tonight. What I am going to do is continue working on just the overall kind of presentation of this. So we've got these arrows, these spears that jut from, you know, this halo over here. And I want these to be kind of thin. Not too thick, but very kind of deliberate, basically, in their just directionality, right? Like, it's going to go straight. That's it. And I'm going to start, you know, just kind of loosening up the weight that I'm putting on for this area, because I'm still trying to keep it relatively straight. If I make any mistakes, I don't want to have to go back and erase too hard. And with this, I'm going to go back and kind of make these spears take a form that's very easy to reproduce. So very basic arrows in a way. I could just keep that kind of like, yeah, I'll keep that as just like a point on the end of this. I'm not going to have it like, you know, flatten out right there. And I'm doing all of this and being very conscious of how I'm drawing each edge and each line for a couple of reasons. I want this to be a design that I can easily reproduce for this particular creature. And so I don't want to add too much complexity unnecessarily. It is a complex design, but again, you know, for the purpose of, yeah, just reproduction. Sorry, that sounded really odd. For the purpose of recopying this again, not the other way. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it easy. I do hope that you guys are enjoying my after work ramblings. I'm totally out of it right now, guys. I woke up at 5 o'clock. Atlanta traffic is the worst, and so it's just been a very brutal grind getting to and from work. Alright, so I've got this arrow. Come back and again, you know, just kind of tweak this up over here. And all of this is really beginning to take shape the way how I've envisioned it in my mind. And that makes me happy. I am debating going back and maybe just kind of making these a bit less thick at the end, but we'll see. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but I'm still trying to feel out, you know, what type of aesthetic direction I really want those to kind of conclude in. Very nitpicky things, but for my artwork, it goes a long way. Just the small details. Everything tells a story. So that guy's coming out. And here we go. That's going to come back to a point. So we'll keep these relatively light. It's not bad, I don't think. Got like a nice complementary balance situation going on over here. And then finally this guy over here needs to have some detail put onto it. That will be a non-issue. Point's going to start there. It's going to come back and just swoop its way this way. Let me try to use my hand in the right way here. Okay. So yeah, we've got this idea kind of mapped out, and I'm gonna rotate this for you guys so that you can see it better. Yeah, check this out. We've got, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit with the camera. Yeah, things are coming along. I do want to go ahead and shift my attention towards this base down here. And I'm gonna start putting on some detail here. I don't want to get too complicated, but you know, it does need to have a little bit of just breakout detail to make it stand out the way how I want it to. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like borrow some of the designs going on up here in the face and translate them into this somewhere, somehow. I have that probably swoop down like so, or it doesn't feel right. I lied. I'm going to have this swoop all the way back, as if the stone for this is going to be, this portion is like made out like, you know, a certain kind of stone, excuse me. But yeah, this is going to kind of just stack on top of itself. And I'm going to kind of do something to call that out a little bit more, maybe by doing like a little chip. Like right there. This comes out here, that's going to spread out like this. And then let's bring it back. Just like that. Yeah, almost there. Maybe a little bit more flush. Yeah. That tiny little dip right there, where we've got that edge, that's what I want. Bringing that back in this type of direction. And then just cleaning this up a little bit here. I still want it to come out to a pretty fine point, and for that to happen, we need this. It's not bad. Okay. And so if we kind of do a retrospective, just taking a look at what we've got so far. Yeah, I'm thinking about kind of putting on some shadow work in a little bit, some hatching. Still TBD for what to do next. So many things, so many options to choose from. And I don't know if this needs any more additional detail. That's kind of like the tricky part here. I feel like it's kind of in a good spot. I just kind of want to see something. Like if I do, like, do I need something else? I feel like that might be interesting. It's kind of cool. I can get down behind that. This kind of like, you know, lithoscopic layering effect going on over there. I think I like that. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to go back and add just a few more arrows back here because I want to show, you know, again, that this is a completed kind of 8 pattern design here. So if that's coming down, there's another one here that's going down like that. So there's something here, which means that there's going to be another thing here. We need to show that arrow. So that's perfectly parallel, not perfectly, but close enough to this guy up here. So it's going to come up or come down like this. And you can kind of start to mentally fill in the image of like what things exist behind this figure. And that's all just kind of part of the symmetry here, just persisting that pattern to where you can kind of start to have your mind fill in the gaps of like, oh, you know, like there must be other arrows behind him this way, and maybe some more that way. So, yeah, it's almost that point to where I'm ready to start putting on the inking for this. Almost. I did say something about doing the hatching work first. Cross-hatching in this case. And I think that is what I'm about to do. So, stretch break again. Yeah, time to start adding some depth to this. So my light source is going to come from, it's going to come from here. I was going to say the light source is here, just kind of doing its thing. And so with that, we're going to have some shadow and a lot of ambient lighting too going on in certain areas. So because I do want some ambient light, I'm going to mark out the areas of the ambient light here with these kind of shapes like this. There's going to be a bit of shadow around this area, like that. So I'm going to kind of come through, stop my hatching there when I do it. I'm just going to come through and just kind of do a thing like that. Some basic line work here. More ambient lighting going on, so there's going to be something there for highlights. And all these things look, you know, like very kind of scrappy, for lack of a better word. It's going to make sense to me once I start putting in these details, so just bear with me for the patience on what things do what and why. Same for this guy. So the darker shadows in some areas are actually going to be higher up on this figure. More ambient light. We've got a light source down here, a light source around here, and a light source there. So, what that's going to mean is that we're going to have light. Let's see, kind of like, get that correct. Kind of in this area over here. Go through and just kind of like erase a few more things. So, you guys probably can't see that very well, but once I start putting in these shadows, you will. It's a bit better. Bring it down just a little bit more. Bit like that. And maybe even further. Maybe even more to where what I'm trying to do is create almost like this spooky kind of ambiance, you know, with the lighting over here, as if you take a flashlight and you're sticking it under your jaw. And that particular choice in lighting is kind of meant to allude to this very imposing presence that this, you know, again, you can kind of see the size of a person here, but this imposing presence has over, you know, somebody who's that size. So the lighting in this example should really help to, you know, emphasize that and just kind of complement it, basically. So what I want to do as well is probably add some shadow, not much, but like a little bit around here. A little bit more back here as well too. And definitely some over here. This part, because there's so much mass over here, I'm going to figure out what makes sense. I think that having some ambient light kind of come between these two, just kind of, you know, like rocks, so to speak, that make up its base. I like that idea. I want there to be almost like, you know, some lava, so to speak, or like a magma-esque sort of body underneath of this. And so because of that, because we've got this like crevice right here, there's going to be light seeping from it. And with that, we'll see something. Yep. We're going to have some shadow just kind of, you know, off in the distance here. But some lighting over here at some point, so it's kind of gonna like take this shape, and once I start to put color on it, we're gonna see, you know, really how that looks in the end. I'm not totally satisfied with this, what can I call it, rudder, basically. And so what I want to do is kind of tweak that just a little bit. I think by erasing that kind of contour right there, moving this one up ever so slightly, that's an alright adjustment for me. Very minor, but basic. Okay, for now, at least, I'm in a spot to where I'm ready to start putting on some of these details here for the rest of the body. Or more specifically, I'm kind of rambling, more specifically the contours with the ink for the rest of the body. And so I'm going to put this down with a pencil. I'm going to switch to markers here. And as you can see, I've got this really thick, kind of, bold Faber-Castell that I'm going to use. And so I'm going to start just kind of filling in this information here. And I'm going to save the kind of thicker point for the boldest areas of the design. And those are all per my discretion. And so there's a reason why I'm going to pick some areas over others. And I will explain why in a little bit. So being really quiet right now, but that's only because I am pretty zoned in, so to speak, with just the line weight that I'm putting onto this. In some of these areas it takes a lot of concentration, only because I'm trying to be very delicate with how much ink I'm applying to the canvas. And the reason why line weight is so important is because depending on how thick or how thin that weight is, it prioritizes or deprioritizes the visual information you want to convey to the viewer, or in this case, that I want to convey to the viewer. And for my concept art and my creature designs, I don't want any one thing to be too overwhelming or too underwhelming with that kind of, just presentation of what's going on here. So it's a very deliberate process that oftentimes takes a lot of concentration. And that is exactly what we see here. Yes, Chibiversity, I agree. The scariest part, hands down, is definitely the inking. Like, you don't want to sneeze when you're doing this even. You're just like, oh shit, let me just That's how I feel sometimes, but I think the fun thing is that the more you do it, at least speaking from my own experience, the better handling you get of it too. We're about to see. For the cross-hatching sections, I'm definitely going to go back with a lighter pin, something that's not, as thick in the point as this one. And that's just, again, to preserve the just level of detail, amount of information I'm trying to place in each kind of portion of this design. Don't want to make anything too busy.
Is everybody in the groove? Well, stick around. We're just warming up, baby.
I don't know if anybody can hear that, but there's a fire truck or something outside that is super loud. Yeah, that's kind of taking a good shape, I think. That's not bad. Alright, so the fun part, switching over to a thinner pin. Here's what I'm going to do. I need to move this out the way for 1 second. Put this back in view. Alright, pulling this guy out. Let's see what I can find. It's too thin. Actually, that's not that bad. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna start using this for this portion here, the hatching. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so I'm thickening up these over here. And this is just, again, you know, like the utility, the usefulness of having a different variety of pins to work with here. Yeah, Chibiversity, I'm glad you didn't. Unless you like, I don't know, background ambiance of people drawing in their home, but it's gone now, I promise. It can't hurt you. Alright, so I'm going to work on getting this nose kind of put into place. It's kind of meant to follow this kind of inspiration of like a Tengu, a Japanese Tengu mask. There's a lot of you know, like Japanese cultural reference in this design. Don't know why. Alright, switching to something a bit more, a bit thicker. That's not bad. I think I've got that shape down alright. So I'm gonna go back and kind of yeah, just put in these contours over here for this next halo, as you guys can kind of see. And this crown is really meant to bring that, you know, sun essence out of this design. switching it back. Joseph Russell, welcome. I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself? I do remember you, as a matter of fact, and I'm happy that you're on. I was kind of just zoned out a second ago in concept art land, getting some things made, but yeah, I think you came on kind of like right towards the end of this particular piece here. I'm gonna kind of zoom out for a second for the audience to take a look at this. Check this out. This is where we're at so far. Let me zoom out. I can't show the full thing on camera, but you know, for the concept art for this particular creature, I think it's wrapping up into a pretty good spot. And you know, while there are still details that I can put on, I can still probably use what I've got right here for the template for the just digital drawing to come. And Joseph, I used to use DeviantArt. I don't use it a lot anymore. In fact, I haven't picked that up. One second. I haven't picked that up in years. It's been at least easily a decade since I've touched DeviantArt. And thanks, by the way. I'm glad that you think that this looks amazing. I'm pretty content with it, with where things are right now, I think. Just 1 second. Sketching in this stick figure here. Thanks for the compliment, by the way. I'm glad that you like it. I think for tonight's stream, before I finish that, Joseph, thanks again. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Joseph, I know that you're reaching out from Twitch. I'm not sure if you follow my YouTube page, but if you do, then you'll see a lot more of my artwork, concept art, world building, all of that fun stuff when you go search for Creative Animus, as you'll see in my title. So, yeah, that's where a lot more of my artwork actually is. And a lot of the concepts where I talk about like the lore and the just kind of like, you know, world building basically behind what it is that I'm making and why. Yeah, this is all artwork that's going to eventually go into an art book. I thought you did too, Joseph. So, no worries. But yeah, everything that I'm doing for Inktober, that's all going to, most of it anyway, is going to get translated into an art book at some point, which I have the intention of selling. So, yeah, here's to that. Here's to another new sketch edition for that too. But yeah, all that being said, guys, I just want to say thanks for jumping in. I'm going to probably put this on pause because tonight's a work night, so I will be getting ready for work come tomorrow. But I think that where things are, we should have some good content going forward. To where if I want to make a lore video or talk about like what this creature, what this entity in particular actually is, then I will. And yeah, I'll be very happy to elaborate on that. So, yeah. Joseph, thank you so much for hopping in, and to all the other current watchers who are on the stream, thanks for all of your support. I'm going to read these messages before I wrap up the chat. Ooh, interesting, Joseph. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I would be very happy to talk to you about, my availability. I have to see what's going on my side. send me a message for anybody who's interested in reaching out to me. Joseph, you included too. If you could, reach out to my email address, which is on my YouTube channel, just so that I've got a reminder. And I'll be very happy to get back to any requests, including what you're talking about for Halloween and all that stuff. I'd be very happy to hear what you have to say. Chad Haynes, you have a good night. Thanks. Take care. And for everybody else, you do the same. So until next time, peace, kudos, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.